Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Hello, disruptors, and welcome back to another episode of Mindset Mastery Moments, the show where we don't just talk about growth, we talk about the inner work required to sustain it. I want to start with a truth that might be uncomfortable for some of us listening today. If you keep doing the same things, thinking the same way, and tolerating the same patterns, you don't need a new strategy. You need a different version of you. And that's exactly why today's conversation matters. Because growth isn't about hustle, leadership isn't about titles, and becoming more isn't about adding, it's about alignment. Today, I am joined by a woman whose life and leadership prove that transformation doesn't start with what you do, it starts with who you are becoming. My guest today is Ms. Dianna Kokoszka, an award-winning entrepreneur, keynote speaker, leadership mentor, and the author of an amazing book called Becoming More. You can't get to better until you get to different. Dianna spent 13 years as the CEO of KW Maps Coaching and Training at Keller Williams Realty International, where she helped build the largest and most profitable coaching organization in the real estate industry. She is the creator of the KW Bold Experience and Coaching Kills Scam, and played a key role in positioning Keller Williams as the #1 training company in the world. She is a founding member of the John Maxwell team, and she's also a board member of the Growing Leaders Practitioner in Neurolinguistic Programming, and has been mentored by John C. Maxwell himself for decades. And I get to benefit from his work as well. So we had a little chat because y'all know I'm a part of the Maxwell team. But here's what makes her work powerful. It isn't just her resume. It's that she walked the journey first, refined it through real life, and then give language and structure to what transformation actually looks like. Dianna, we're so honored to have you on Mindset Mastery Moments. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. Tell us who you are in your own words, what you do and why you do it, as if I didn't read enough, right?
I am thrilled to be here and to have this conversation with you, because you in your own right, while we were talking before the show started, I was writing down notes from you. So I love it where two women can get together and talk about how we can help make the world better. To describe who I am, I'm somebody that wakes up every morning anxious to add value to others. In fact, my phone goes off every morning at 7 a.m. with an alarm that says, what will you do today to add value to others? And at 7 p.m., the alarm goes off with, what did you do today to add value to others? That's been happening since they had alarms on the phone. And before that, it was actually written in my paper calendar. So I think it's important that we know who we desire to be in our own life, right?
I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm going to take that method, that 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. alarm, because that is something on my calendar. What difference can you make today is my question to myself. And then what can I learn? So I'm going to put that on my calendar to hold myself accountable at the end of the day.
Well, I'm so glad you're going to do that. And see, you already know what it is you desire. In fact, in my book, I say everybody has a to-do list. Yet, do you have a to-be list? And do you know who it is that you desire to be? Because when we write it down and we get up before breakfast, start working to be that person that we desire to be when our time on this earth is ended, well, now we're living in our legacy that we desire to leave. And legacy is what people talk about when you're no longer there to defend it, right? I think it's so important for us to do this. And people always ask me how. So Dr. Whyte, here's what I tell them, and it's going to sound real creepy. Write your eulogy as though somebody is standing up, giving your eulogy at your service, whether it's a celebration of life or funeral, whatever you call it, and then read it. And based upon that, who do you desire to be? You've got to live that way
Mm.
for people to say it about you. And then you reduce it down. And mine is reduced down to she made a difference by adding value daily. That's it.
Mm.
So what is it that you want to be known for? And then be that person every single day to the utmost
Ooh.
ability.
Ooh, she came in with the fire and the flame. Ladies and gentlemen, she is a firecracker. She is fire. But here's the thing, Dianna, before we even get into those frameworks of being and becoming that person that you talk about, I want us to ground the conversation with your lived experience. You led at the highest levels. You've coached thousands. You've seen success up close. But becoming more isn't a written theory as you described it. It is written from transition. What was the moment or season where you personally realized if I want better, I can't stay the same? And how did that realization begin to reshape your leadership and your life?
It's such a great question. Well, we start becoming more when we're crawling, right? We want to walk and we don't even know what we're doing yet. We are becoming more. I think the
Yes.
biggest thing with me when I started selling real estate, I couldn't afford a babysitter. In fact, the way I got into the real estate industry was based on the fact that I couldn't afford school. And I was up one night with one of my sick children and I turned on PBS and they were having an auction to raise money. And I turned it on to keep myself awake because quite frankly, I was quite tired. And they had an auction for a real estate program. And I went, oh my word. So I looked in my checkbook. All I could afford really was $50. And so I thought, well, it's 2 a.m. I don't know if anybody else go for it. Right. All I can do is lose. And so I bid. I was the only bidder. So for $50, I was going to real estate school, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Then when I got in, I had to go to 12 offices for someone to hire me because back in the day, it was a man's world in real estate. And
Mm-hmm.
I would go to offices and they would say, oh, we already have our woman realtor. And so we're not hiring anymore. Finally, I found somebody that would hire me and I was so excited and so determined. Yet I know that if I want to achieve more than I've ever achieved before, I have to become the person I've never been before. And so I knew I
Mm-hmm.
had to go out and talk with people. They weren't going to come to the office to find me. So that's why I put my kids in a little red wagon, went door to door, started meeting people to ask if I could be their realtor of choice. And of course, my
Mm.
kids got to know kids. I spoke with women. I found that women wanted to understand how to invest in real estate. And even though many of the people that I knocked on their doors could not afford it, they knew somebody that could afford investments. And I started doing programs in the house, much like a Tupperware party, where I would go in and the women would invite couples to join them and their husbands. And we would sit around and I would talk to them about investing in real estate. And then they would tell other people of what I was doing. And pretty soon it started spreading. And that first year, while the average agent was selling 5 homes a year, I sold 104 homes. See, nobody ever told me that you didn't sell a lot of houses. I just assumed that's what you did every day is you sold houses. And so because I would lead generate, I would lead follow up. And, it was never about selling houses. It was about helping people and serving them so they got the goal that they desired. And
Yes.
that's what got it. I mean, I went door to door with Santa Claus one time to just make the kids smile. And everybody knew when I was going to be on their block. And if they didn't believe in Santa Claus, obviously I skipped their door. Yet they knew at 1 o'clock I was going to be on that block. And back in the day, it was like, get your cameras ready so you don't have to go to the mall, right? I'll do it right in your house. So I brought a photographer
Right.
along and we took pictures. They took pictures of their own. And I just did things to have fun with the people and
Mm-hmm.
asked for business and referrals. So that's how I got started. And from there, I opened up my own company. Now, Dr. White, I have to tell you, I hope someone really learns from my
Mm.
mistake. It was a big mistake. I
Mm.
literally went and I was making a lot of money. I had 4 offices. The agents were doing really well, and I started a property management division. I was taking
Mm.
care of 72 homes, and I brought a friend in who needed a job, and I turned over the books in my property management division to her. My accountant was in England on a mission trip for 3 months, and you know what? I didn't watch my money. It was totally my fault. I did not watch my money. Only one morning I woke up to 216 unpaid house payments that I was responsible for. Yes, that's exactly right. So I know what it's like to go from having very little to having a lot, to
Mm.
selling most everything I had except for my house, and of course, getting
Mm.
pennies on the dollar because everybody knew I was in trouble. And
Yeah.
during that time, being at a board, I sat on the board of directors for the realtors in my county. And that night we walked out of the meeting, and if you could imagine, I couldn't find my car. And the police officer that came looked at everybody who was standing in the parking lot wondering what was going on. He said, "Your car wasn't stolen, ma'am. It was repossessed." And it was so embarrassing to sit there and have all of my colleagues know and to hear
No.
that.
Yeah.
And so if you get anything out of this, watch your money, because
Watch
I
your money.
didn't learn from my mistake because it was my mistake.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd have been watching it, that would have never happened. So I went from the heights of glory to the depths of depression all in about that fast, right?
Yeah.
And I
How
went
many
back.
years in were you at that point, just for context?
My word, at that point, I had been selling for about probably 12 to 15 years. Yeah, I had
Oh my
accumulated
goodness.
quite a bit.
That should this is your whole lifestyle is built around this. It's solid, it's
Yeah,
solidified. You're crashing
it
hard
is.
here.
So I did, I took a big crash, and the greatest part is the good Lord helped me out of it. And you know what? We all survive, and that's where that mantra came from. Everything is always working out for me. See, we didn't have cell phones that gave us caller ID. So
Right.
when I went back to selling real estate, I didn't know if it was somebody that was upset at me for what had happened, because I called every single person. I had to take responsibility. Now, at
Mm-hmm.
first, I gotta tell you, every story has a victim, a villain, and a hero, and we have to be
Yes.
the hero of our own life. Yet at first, I did go through being a victim. Oh, I cried for about
Mm.
2 days, right? And then I
Mm.
got up one morning, and I was a single parent at the time. So it was like I looked at my kids and I thought, come on, Diana, you got to be the hero of your own life. Quit bollering.
Mm.
So I picked up the phone and I started calling everyone, owning my mistake, telling them I would make it right. And I did. I went back to selling, as I said, and I paid everybody back. And I learned a very, very good lesson. And so I do watch the money. And quite frankly, I get a little upset, probably too upset, when I find people that don't watch their money or know where it's
Mm-hmm.
going, right? Because it's like, do you understand what you're doing to your life? And then I go, not my rodeo. Let it go. Let it go. Other than my grandkids, I'm doing a wealth building class with my grandkids. It's 6 sessions, and yeah, and I'm
That's
having a good
amazing.
time, right? It's fun.
Outstanding. What I want to ask you is if you could share with us maybe three simple steps to washing our money. Only because some people are listening. We have people all over the globe. And while the term is very common among many of us here in the USA, they may not understand what watching their money is, but they're building rapidly. I mean, I've some entrepreneurs that come on here, they're in their 20s and they're already making, 6 figures and they're very young.
Isn't that fun to think about
Yeah.
that? Being young
Yes.
and having money come in. And yes, and they are so doggone smart. I'm telling you,
Yes.
when I hear people go, "Oh, this generation," I go, "Yes, this
This
generation."
generation, not
They have
this
so much
generation,
more
this
to
generation.
offer.
Yes.
Listen to them. They've got great ideas, right? And they're
Mhm.
bringing a new thing into us. So here's one of the things I would say. Number one, debt. There's good debt and bad debt. Investing in
Mm,
real estate to me is a good debt, right? Because
right. It
now
appreciates.
in my later life, the rentals that I have and that are providing income for me. So that's a
Right.
good debt. Purchasing a
Yes.
home when you're ready, not going so far into debt that you can't even go out to dinner is not good. Yet buying a home, good debt. Bad debt,
Mm,
credit cards. I mean, for heaven's sakes, come on. And debit cards that you don't even know how much is in the bank. Oh, I
right.
guess I'm out of that didn't go through, so I guess I'm out of money. No, 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 no. You need to
Need to
watch your
know.
money. And I would
Mhm.
say visit your money often. I was visiting my
Mm,
money almost daily, and now I visit it weekly and monthly and quarterly. What I mean by that, quarterly with our net worth, because I want to multiply the money, right?
yes.
Because I wanna leave a legacy, and, of course, my
Right.
husband and I love giving. We start our goals with how much we're gonna give for the year, add on
Wow.
what we need to live for the year, and then that's our goal, right? So we start out with
Living
the
and
giving
living.
tree, and we didn't at first, yet I've always believed in the saying that the hand that is open to give is open to receive, and
See,
so a lot of people say, "I'll give when I have more." You'll never have more.
you never have more.
Enough will never be enough when you give
Mhm.
that way. When you
Mhm.
start giving before you can give, that's when you really start seeing,
Yes.
you know what, we're promised. I don't know what your faith is, and it doesn't matter. I just believe that the hand that's open to give is open to receive. And I have found that the more I give, the more it seems to just come back to me tenfold. So I'm going to challenge everybody just to give a little bit somewhere, somehow, some way, and see what happens in your life and your health, because giving is good for your health. And I have in my
Agree.
book about how most people say, well, if I have what people have, then I can do what people do and then I can be like them. And
Mm,
that's the victim way of life. I have to have what they have. Oh, I'm a victim because I don't have it. The villain lives their life where you got to do what they do to have what they have, and then you can be like them. So it's all
mm,
about doing. The hero, though, understands in our life, we have to be like them in order to do what they do. And when we do what they do, we'll have what they have,
yeah.
and then we can give what we desire to give. So it all starts with who we're being. And who we're being today is not who we desire to be a year from now. We desire to be more because we want to be more, do more, have more, and give more. It's just part of life.
Yes. Oh, wow. I love your how you do the the be do have and give. That is just I love it. You added the give because I don't think it's out there that way. Let's talk about breaking patterns with shame because a lot of people suffer with that. A big part of mindset mastery is pattern recognition without self-judgment. And you talk about recognizing and reshaping limiting patterns and turning breakdowns into breakthroughs, one of my biggest things. So, for someone listening, Dianna, right now who feels stuck but can't quite name why, what's the first honest question they should be asking themselves?
Well, I would say, where did this belief come from? That would be the first thing
Mm,
I would be asking. Who gave me this belief? And is it 100% true? Are there people
mm-hmm.
out there living their life without that belief? We already know it's not 100% true. Then ask ourselves, who would I be without this belief?
Mm,
And why don't I start being that person now?
right.
Now, there's things that we can go through. When we were talking earlier, I talked about the running parachutes that people put on their
Yes.
back,
Yes.
and watching the runners that actually perform at a high level. They strap those parachutes on going against the wind to build up resistance, to build their muscles to be stronger. And when they left that parachute behind and they go out and run, they run so much faster. Their production is better. Well, I believe that as entrepreneurs, as business people, as people that work in an office, we all come to work with a parachute strapped on our back. And when we're
Mm,
able to shed that parachute, our production takes off, our company takes off, our being takes off. I mean, we just become
mm-hmm.
more. So I would get with a coach that understands how to release those running parachutes if you're having a challenge. And they can be made up of fear and doubt, things that you've had and been carried around with you for so long that you don't want to carry around with you anymore because they're limiting you. And we go to liberating beliefs. And that's when we start getting better. Like a limiting belief may be something like, well, here, I'm going to go right to my book. I'm not good enough to do what great people do. And then the liberating belief in that is I am creative, resourceful, and whole, which allows me to achieve success. So what are we saying to ourselves? Because see, there's 4 storytellers in our mind right now, and we all have them. They live rent free. And the first one is the devious storyteller. That's the one that puts all those limiting beliefs in our mind to begin with, that mistakes aren't to be made. Oh, those pesky mistakes. Wouldn't it be nice if they just didn't make themselves? And yet that devious storyteller wants to hold us down. It's like an invisible hand that's just pushing us under the water, right? And then we have the flattering storyteller. Now, this is the one that says, hey, don't listen to anybody else. You already know how great you are. You've got this covered. You don't need to take those classes. You don't need that. Oh, don't read that book, for heaven's sakes. I don't like to read. I already know. I can find it on the internet. Chat GPT will tell me what to do. That's scary. Yeah. The third one is the one, though, that frightens me, Dr. White. That's the one that it's the reasonable storyteller, the one that gives us reasons, the ones that gives us excuses as to why something isn't happening in our life. It's the one that says, hey, it's their fault. And my dad taught me that when you're pointing the finger that way, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. Odds are 3 to 1, it's your own fault. Now, the fourth one is the one I love. And it's the one as a coach and as a leader, and you do this all over when you speak. I love to speak it into people. It's the empowering storyteller. So how do we take those limiting beliefs that we have and turn them into liberating beliefs, allowing that encouraging, the empowering, the one storyteller that we should be listening to? I'm not as good as I could be, but I'm better than I was last night, right? Or yesterday, or I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be, right? So, yeah.
So I took notes. I usually try to be I couldn't help but take notes, and I'm like, you're still gonna have to listen to this episode again. You know you're gonna, but I'm gonna dig deeper. I don't want to forget to come back to these headlines because these storytellers are major drivers in what we achieve, who we're gonna become. And I created the framework: think, speak, do, become. And those storytellers are the ones that direct the thinking.
Don't they?
And the speaking.
The sad part is we trained our brain to think that way. And most people think, well, it's just the way I am. Oh, that statement just like nailed on a chalkboard.
If I could just delete that statement out of people's brains,
yes. And
I do not tolerate that statement. I say, this is what I've been doing. It's not working. And here's what I'm going to do. Well, I tell it it's not working.
That's exactly it. And it does. We've got to flip the script, right?
Yes.
And it's up to us to do that. And when we think about it, our personal growth is so important. I love what John Maxwell says, that growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow is going to be better than today, right? Yet, how are we predicting our future? It's based upon the stories in our mind. We have an experience, and then our mind, we go through all the filing cabinets and say, oh, this time is like that time. So we pull out that file, making a judgment around what just happened, and then we make up a story. Now, there's a part of our brain, which you already know, the reticular activating system, that's like our Google search engine. We tell it what we want to see. And just like Google, you type in, and it only shows you what you ask for. It doesn't show you everything on the World Wide Web. So our RAS, we tell it what's important, And our eyes can only see and our ears can only hear what our reticular activating tells it to, right? And it's a system that God gave us so we don't die because there's so much going on around us. Let me give you an example. You buy a car and you drive the car off the lot and you see that car everywhere. You didn't see it before because it wasn't important to you before. Now it's important. You're going to see it. And that's how we predict our future based upon the words that we use, the words that we tell ourselves, the stories that we make up. We are setting our future in motion all day long by our thoughts and the things that we do. So think about the words. And I had a lady that I coached and she kept saying, I'm just so frustrated. And I said, you know what? Let's change one of those words. Let's say I'm fascinated because fascination opens the brain up to creativity. Frustrated makes us focus on the negative, making us spiral down more. Another thing she kept saying, it never works out. This just never works out. They're not doing their job. This isn't happening. This just never works out. And I go, okay, let's say I'm working through it or I'm working on it. Do you know within 4 months, that lady's production was skyrocketing. It wasn't just going up a little bit at a time. It was like on an escalator being taken to the sky. And she
How
could not
awesome.
believe it. And I go, yet, see, you are speaking into existence because we're taught the
Yes.
tongue is the rudder of our life. So where is your tongue taking you? And
Oof.
how are you developing your brain? And the book actually gives you a model to follow. It's more of a workbook than a book.
Yes.
It's about retraining your brain because neuroscience teaches us that nerve cells that fire together wire
They
together.
were together.
It also teaches us nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. So we're just
Right.
unwiring this part and wiring up that part. And that's how we transform ourselves. And the book will help give you ways that you can do that.
I love it. I love it. And also you have the neurolinguistic programming
Yes.
piece of it where you integrate it into the book as well. How does these methodologies complete each other in helping people not just learn but actually rewire how they show up?
Such a great question. Let me tell you a story. Let's say you and I live next door to each other.
I wish.
Because we had a grass, both of the sides and our lawns came together and we didn't have a fence. Yet,
Right.
do you think I'd really come out of my door and walk clear down the sidewalk, along the street, back up your sidewalk to your front door? Heck no, I'd go fast. I'd run right across the grass, right? It wouldn't be that big of a deal and it
Right.
wouldn't hurt it at all. Yet,
Right.
what if I kept coming over to your house and going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth? What would happen to that grass?
It's just gonna be flat. It's gonna be bed. It's not gonna grow, be able to grow.
No, it would literally become a worn path. Well, that's what happens when we have a thought. It leaves one neuron, travels along an axon, and it hits
Mm.
another neuron. Now, I know it makes a jump, and I don't want to get into synapses and dendrites and all of that kind of stuff. I'm just
I
making it
know.
very
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
So we have one that goes from this neuron to another along this pathway. And so the more we have that thought, the stronger that pathway gets. And pretty soon, instead of being like a little piece of dental floss or a hair on our head, by the way, it's 1/100th the size of one hair on our head, just to give it. But let's say it goes from
Context.
that to a big, thick rope, right? So you get the
Yeah.
picture of it. Yet now, what if I stop taking that pathway and I start going around the sidewalk, down the road, back up your sidewalk, and that is watered. And now all of a sudden, the grass is growing back. And pretty soon, that pathway will disappear and be covered back in grass. That's what happens to our brain. It is now rewired to the sidewalk street way of getting to you versus that patch of grass because we've cut new neural pathways. So nerve cells that fire together, wire together, and nerve
Together.
cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together, allowing us to have a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of doing things, and a new way of having more.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, the words that we use, I think, is a big thing. One that I do want to tell, because I know you work with a lot of women, and so do I.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they go, "Oh, I have to go pick up the kids. I'd love to talk to you more, but I have to go pick up my kids." And I go, "Stop. No, you get
You get to.
to." And you already
Yes.
know that, and you use those words. Yet our
Mm-hmm.
listeners, are we, instead of should have, next time.
Next
Next
time.
time I'll do that. Instead, I should have done that. I can't wait. Oh, that's the one that grabs me. I can't wait to see you. Well, you're gonna have to wait. So how about
What
I'm
else? How else is gonna happen?
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing you instead of I can't wait to see you. Or the other one
Exactly.
that's so fun is I'm trying to think. No, you're thinking.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
not trying
thinking.
to think. Yoda
Yes.
has it best. I keep this little Yoda here. I love Yoda. And
Ah,
there is no try, right? He had it right.
there is no try.
Do or do
Exactly.
not.
There is
There
no
is no
try. It's
try.
either you are or you're not. Yeah. And it's funny. People don't a lot. Well, I would say a lot of women. And I just was coaching one of my clients a few days ago, and I said, I'm gonna have you do something because I always send a replay of our sessions. And I said, I want you to see if you can figure out how many times you said try. And I said, but you know what's gonna be make it easy for you? You won't have to watch the whole tape. I'm gonna send you this transcript. You're gonna put it in a Word document, and you're gonna define and replace. And I
And you're
want
going to
you to
see
think,
that.
but instead of find and replace it, I want you to delete it out of the transcript and do the same thing for every time. I said, now you're aware. You have to hear it. And if you see it you see those numbers. We talked for an hour. And if you saw that maybe you spoke 30 minutes, I spoke 30 minutes because we're going back and forth. How many times you said try, you'd realize that the last thing you're giving is that you know what you're talking about.
But, it's so interesting. There's so many things that make us up, like our energy. Every chapter has a part of this becoming more model. One of the
Hmm.
chapters is on energy, and we talk about the
I wanted to jump into that. Take us there. The four energies of success.
yeah,
I was
well,
not going to let you go without them.
see, I loved working in the physics lab when I was in college. I took physics and math.
Uh-huh.
Why I ended up in real estate, who knows? Yet I brought a lot of the energy into that. And in the
Yes.
physics lab, I learned the energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or transformed. And under these high powered microscopes, we found that everything we would put under them is 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% particle. And so I thought, if
Mm-hmm.
there's that much energy, and I wanted to start looking for, is there an energy of success? And of course, being with John Maxwell and him being successful over the years. I mean, I knew him when there were only 13 of us in his inner circle. I mean, if you can imagine
For coaching,
sitting at
yeah, for
his
his
table
mentees.
at his home, right? And just going to an event where we had it at his house, and then going to the events now where there's 4 or 5,000
Thousands of people from
people,
all
right?
over the world.
And
Yeah.
I noticed, like, with the Alan Mulally's and the Ed, oh my goodness,
And
Ed
Milet's.
Bastian and
I was
the
thinking of Ed
yeah,
Milet.
oh, and Ed Milet. Yeah, you look at all these great people, John Gordon, lots of great people, Patrick Lencioni, well, Susan
Mm-hmm.
Scott. I've had so many of them as my own
Yes.
personal coaches, and I'm going, "Oh my word, what energies?" And they all have the energy of confidence. Think about that. They have
Yeah.
energy of optimism. They have the energy of being in the present moment. And that's a big And the energy that I believe, and I add to that, and I talk about it a lot, is the energy of gratitude. And I've seen
Yes.
scans after people have said what they're grateful for, and everything is lit up. I mean, logic,
Yeah.
emotion, creativity, intuition, it's all lit up. I've also seen brain scans where they thought about the what ifs this happens. What if somebody steals all my money? What if I'm diagnosed with a bad disease? What if?
Mm,
Nothing is lit up except for anxiety, stress, depression, and the amygdala
mm.
is lit up so big. Now, the amygdala is where our emotions live, and when it lights up, we can take action. Yet when we think about negative things, it lights up and it can only think about more negative things, leading us down the path of negativity.
Yes. Wow.
So, yeah, we're either in high energy, high positive energy, high or low positive energy, high negative energy, or low negative energy. And we get to choose which one we're in. And I wish I could say I was in positive energy all the time. I would be lying.
No, that
Integrity
was not.
wise, no.
No.
Low to high positive is where I desire to stay. Yet I become fascinated with things and I can go right into that negative energy and attach myself, right?
And I love that you didn't say I become frustrated, I come fascinated. That is one change I'm walking away from this episode. I don't use it a lot, but I understand those emotions and I probably label it. And so I talk about the what if mindset, right? And that's the fascination. I always talk about being like children because children are always getting curious. They're always curious. They're just curious. And I laugh every now and then. I'm in a space like at a table or something, or maybe I'm at an event and they have like the vendors, and I'm like, I'm that kid. I am this age, but I am the kid still now. It's like, what is that? Oh, what did they make it? I wonder why they made it purple. And I just stay curious and staying curious, even when I'm upset. It's like the curiosity leads me to problem solving, you
That is
know?
so good. And you know what? I do a lot with mindset like you do, and I have a mindset assessment. I've spent 2 years with people developing this, and literally, I've read a lot of neuroscience books, much like you have, finding the difference that attitude is in our conscious mind, mindset is in our
Yes.
unconscious mind, and reading about, gosh, what is there, like 150 different mindsets. And so
Oh
I
my gosh.
literally went out to start finding what are the mindsets that limit us and what are the ones that liberate us? And I narrowed it down to 7 by once again looking at these great people. And like
Mhm.
Carol Dweck talks about fixed, that would be a limiting one. Growth would be a
Yes.
liberating. And then, of course, we
Right.
have entitlement is a limited one. Gratitude
Ex
is
Yes.
liberating. We have
Right.
doubt versus confident. We have scarcity versus abundance. We have negativity versus positivity, hubris versus humility, right? You know, those people with
Right.
those, and judgment versus curiosity. So I chose those 7. You may think of something else yet. The mindset assessment is called mindsets.com is where you find it. And it gives you your 3 top liberating mindsets. And then you have different levels of the mindset assessment. The one will actually rate all of them as the percentage you have of each one. And the big finale is where we give you a roadmap to follow to change from scarcity to abundance, from doubt to confidence. And we're seeing such great progress. One gentleman called me and he said, "Oh my word, I now realize why I did not want to go to dinner with this certain person all the time." Because see, his top mindset was humility and that person's top mindset was hubris. Well, they're like water. And he goes, "I never realized until I'm reading who I am and it says
Mm.
is your top one. You will avoid at all costs people that are braggers, right?" And he's going, My word, now I understand why I couldn't go to dinner with that person because all they did was talk about themselves. Another
Right.
person contacted me and said, "Oh, man, now I realize why I do the things I do. What do I do to change this mindset?" And so now we've got coaches that can help with mindset assessment once they have it, or you just follow the roadmap that we give you on your own. Either way, it works.
It
Yet think
works. Yeah.
about it. You teach on mindset. You know how
Hmm.
important it is.
Hmm.
What do you tell? I've heard 95% of our success is our mindset.
That's it. That's what the podcast is about. That mindset is the key to your success. It's always the setting of the mind. And I was like, don't overthink what mindset is how you're setting your mind to think. Because what I've learned, Diana, is that as humans, our brains are predisposed, and jokingly, we call it the caveman brains,
Yeah.
where it's predisposed to protect us, right?
Yeah.
And what protection looks like in terms of mindset is sort of looking at all the things that can go wrong. By default, we are pre-wired like that to protect ourselves. So it's more or less it's easier, what I would say. It's a default mode to be pessimistic, to be worried, to be afraid. However, because we can be disposed that way, it's with intent we set the mind to reprogram and question. This is why I talk about stop and questioning. Is this really true? Is this real? Because there's no bear coming to get us except you're going where bears are. They're not just randomly walking around. But yet there are bears in our lives thinking about, well, should I get on an airplane? Or if I trust this one with an investment, you do have to look at those things, but look for the proof, look for the truth and analyze it, but set your mind. And I love you started off when you got on the call and we are talking about us rescheduling for a while before we would sit down. You said, everything's always working out for me. Now, that is a way that you have set your mind with intention. And that is why I talk about mindsets. It's about you setting, if you say you want these results, then you have to set your thinking, set your
Yeah.
behavior, set your language to be able to be aligned with the results you say you want. I don't hold you accountable for anything except for what you say you want. And everybody wants good stuff, Diana.
I
Who wants bad stuff?
Bill Gates always said, "You claim victory as you step on the battlefield," right?
Come on,
I like to say you claim victory before you step on the battlefield because
for me.
every day you go to work, you got to claim victory before you get there. Don't claim
Right.
victory when things are starting to go down. You just claim when you get there. Does it work all the time? Let's be honest. If we were perfect, we'd be transcended to heaven. We're all human. We're all
And
going to
yeah,
have those up
gonna have
and
those
down
moments.
days. And life's a
Yes.
roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, and it goes down. And Kate Papkin, my friend, said, "Well, would you buy a ticket to ride a flat roller coaster?"
Let's get in the car.
I mean, come on. I would. I go to those amusement parks and I ride the ones that go round and
Go to
round,
go.
right?
Yeah,
And I'm
swing
going,
me around.
yet when life starts going round and round, I go, whoa, no. So
What's this for?
why don't we just throw up our hands like we do on a roller coaster and go, wee, it's about ready to go
Yes.
back up? Because what goes down does come back up and what goes up can go back down. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
our conversation here. It's
Me
so much
too.
fun and
I
changing
love
our
it.
mindset. I used to hear that it was 90% of our success. And then new research is showing it's 95%. And I always wonder, why do people want to know? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. No, I want people to teach me how to think.
How to think.
Yeah.
That's it. There you go. And that's with the coachee, you coach and you lead individuals. And you were even sharing that you talk to leaders from the perspective of not holding their people accountable, but holding them able. And in those relationships, I always say the mistake on the coachee or the mentee's spot can be where they're just looking for actions to imitate. For example, if you're my mentor, Diana, and I'm looking at your journey, then I'm like, okay, so she went and did real estate for 10 years. Then she launched this program. Okay. So I'm going to do 10 years of real estate.
Yeah.
No, I want to know. That's the mistake. Now, that's all fine. But here's the thing. You want to go deeper with Diana. You want to sit with her and ask her, when you decided to do real estate, what were you thinking? How did you determine, what did you think, Diana, was the key to you selling 140 real estate properties in a month? How did you
You
do
know,
that in a year? What kind of thoughts did you have? What did you do when you wake up? What did you do? What did you do with your relationships with your friends? Did you have a husband? Were you married? Were you dating? What did you think about dating? I want to ask you those real life application questions because I'm discerning at this point your mindset and patterns of ways of being and doing that will bring me the results I need in my life. That's my thought.
no, and that's such a great thought. And I hope people really take that in because see, if you don't have the same energy, let me give you an example in
Mhm.
sales. They wanted me to come and do this sales class on what to say on handling objections because I've been known as the queen of scripts for whatever that means, right? Because I help people make decisions that are good for them. Don't
You're not
manipulate.
really selling
Don't
them anything.
manipulate them.
Yeah.
You're not selling anything. I help people
Mhm.
make decisions. And
Mhm.
so I go there and they go, "Well, tell me what you say." And I go, "No, no, no, no. You've got to understand how I think so I know what I say. So let's go back to how I think
Yeah.
and what's my energy? Is my voice screaming at them or is it
Yes.
because see, if you don't have the same energy, if you don't have the same mindset or thoughts
You're
that I
not gonna
have,
get the results.
you can use the words, but they'll come out. Here's a good example. I didn't say Bob took that. If I emphasize I didn't say Bob took that, you go, oh, somebody else said it. I
Mhm.
didn't say Bob took that. Well, you implied it. I didn't
Mm.
say Bob took that. Oh, somebody else did. I didn't
Right.
say Bob took that. Oh, he just borrowed it. I didn't say Bob took that. He took something else.
Something else. Exactly.
Same script. Look how many different ways that it was
Interpretation.
used. And so to me, that whole thing matters because if I want to teach you the framework, the model that I use, and there's a
Mhm.
4-step model that I use to help people make decisions. And I teach all of that in our coaching blitz. And a lot of salespeople end up coming to that because I teach those kind of models. Yet
Teach them how
think
to
about
think.
that. We got to have a model to follow. And when we have one to follow, everything else falls into place. Kind of like,
Absolutely.
well, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So you better learn how to get the diagnosis right, right?
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So there you go. We even taught you how to be a good mentee and how to be a great coach. I want to close our teaching portion here. Many people think legacy is something you leave later. You frame it as something you live now. What
Yes.
does leaving a life-changing legacy look like for someone who may not see themselves as a leader, but is ready to live with intention?
Does it, and I love this question because does it really matter if we
Mm,
leave a legacy with one person, like one of our grandchildren, or 5 people, or 10, or 80,000, or 1,000,000. It really doesn't matter because we were put on this earth for a purpose. And that
yes.
purpose, the old story of the one starfish that throws back into the sea and they go, look at all the starfish that you can't save. Yeah, I saved one. We never know why we're here or
Exactly.
what impact we make. Yet there is a chapter on legacy. And I
Yes,
think
most
we
really.
decide our legacy before we leave this earth. Let's
Mhm.
be intentional about the legacy that we live. And we can do that by writing out our eulogy, saying, what is it we want to be known for? Legacy is more than leaving money, even though money can be part of it. And even that is a chore in today with the tax
Yeah.
situation and the way everything is. It takes time to be intentional about building up trusts and slats and everything else that you need to have to put your
Mhm.
affairs in order so you're not leaving it for anybody else. If you don't have
Yes.
a will, at least go get a will. If you need a trust, go get a trust. Do it now. Do it right
Now.
away. We're setting up trusts for our grandkids now because,
Hmm.
hey, do it now while they're young. When they don't have anything, it'll be much easier to keep it going.
Oh, yes, it will be. Yes, it will be. Oh my goodness. I love it. Diana, I want to do flip the script. I want to ask you if you can share a time when you had in your life something occur and you had a complete change in your mindset. You had to change your mindset to get results. What was it? What happened? What changed? How did it
Well,
end up?
the 72 house payments was a big shift from victim
Oof.
to hero, right? Another
Mm.
shift I would say is that when I started the consulting, it was a consulting division inside a well-known real estate company. They were fourth largest in the nation at the time. Great, great company. Really enjoyed being there. And I took on that job. I said yes, not even. I felt confident in it. Yet even the president and the CEO at the time of the company, the entire company wouldn't use this division. I mean,
Mm.
it was not well known, so it was digging it out of the hole, and I had to shift my thinking,
Mm-hmm.
shift my mindset from people will use this division because 'cause they're part of the company. I mean, they're company people, they love the company, yet it was a division that they had to pay for, and so I went in with the thought of, "Oh, they're gonna be behind me, everybody's gonna be there to help me," and it's not that they were not, it's just that they didn't like the division to begin with. It was like
Wow.
I changed it from consulting to coaching, and I started changing a lot of things. I had one lady actually tell me that there were 5 consultants that they had at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
one lady said to me, "You are ruining this entire thing. It will never work. You are going to absolutely make it terrible." And she left. And she did not
Wow.
hesitate to tell everybody how bad it would be and how awful I was. And that's okay because everybody
Right.
has a perspective. When I had to shift was believing in myself enough and claim victory before I stepped out on the battlefield. And I started doing
Mm.
some free things, bringing people together, teaching them how to ask questions, teaching them how to coach versus being a consultant versus being a mentor versus being a teacher. Because a lot of people say
Mm.
they coach and they're really teaching or they're
Very
telling people
different.
what to do, which is a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is allowing people to self discover. So that was a big shift in my mindset from, oh, I'm going to have everybody behind me and they're all going to just get behind this whole thing and go forward to my word. This is going to be an uphill battle. Yet, as John Maxwell says, everything worthwhile is uphill. The problem is we have
Yes.
uphill goals with downhill habits. So I knew
Ooh,
I
yes.
had to make certain that I started lead generating constantly. I gave some free coaching away to show people it would work. And then if I gave it to them free for 2 months, they would tell people that it worked and help me find clients. And it was an uphill thing. Yet it got to a point, we went, well, I lost coaches and I kept one. And then we went from one coach and one person that did our finances and me to
Mm.
494 specialized coaches, group coaches, 57 bold coaches that went out into the area. They taught and coached at the same time. And
Yes.
we had over 200,000 people go through that BOLD program. We had almost 5,000 one-on-one clients. We had over 10,000. I mean, the team
Yes.
built it well. We had 32 employees from just the finance person. So
Wow.
you know what? You have to decide, and it is a
Mm.
decision, and decide, because side is the root of that. Side means to cut everything else off. Pesticide kills everything
Ooh,
else off.
yeah.
Decide kills everything else off. So we
Mm.
have to decide where we're going, and it doesn't matter who comes along with us. They get to decide. And if they make the
Mm.
decision not to come alongside us, we have to wish them well, love them, and help them to get where they desire to be. Yet
Mm-hmm.
we're going forward. And sometimes we have to alter our course of getting there, yet we can get there with the proper mindset. And you know what? Selfless plug, the 14 mindset assessments is the best place to start. Because if you want to go somewhere, but you don't know where you are right now, even your phone can't get you there. It needs to
Mm-hmm.
know where you're at in order to get you to the next place. So if you don't know what your mindset currently is and you're just guessing, then how are you going to get to the mindset that you truly desire? Because a lot of people
Exactly.
think they have an abundant mindset, and it is
Come
so
on.
scarcity.
I mean, I have the scarcity tracker that's in my brain, and I started off to be the tracker for me, and I would hear and I'd be like, boom, gotcha. I got you. Boom. I'm like, and being a friend of mine or a coachee or a client or
That's
whatever, I'm
so
like,
good.
now, is that really true? Or does that really get us where we say we want to go? Like, really, if you think there aren't people who want to pay you $10,000 a month, then yeah, how are you going to make millions? I don't see how they go together.
You know what's interesting to me is when I would teach people, I would say, okay, write down $1, right? And they did.
Mm-hmm.
I go, okay, now don't put the thing in there, just put 1. Now put a 0 behind it. What is it? Oh, you just made 1 into 10. Oh, put another 0. It's 100. Oh, another 0. And I kept making them do zeros until they were out there to almost a trillion, right? And I'm going, okay, now take the 1 off. And what are all the others? And they go 0. And I go, and what is 0? Nothing. So it's just a bunch of nothings in front of 1. It's up here that you're turning
Yes.
nothing into something. And when I know I'm in scarcity is when I look at my checkbook and let my checkbook start doing the thinking for me. Now, I'm not talking about buying something. If you don't have the money,
No,
don't go buy it on a
buying that
charge
stuff.
card. You're going to be paying a lot of interest in that. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
when we think about that, are we making something out of nothing? And do we look at it as though it's abundant? And I'll give you one hint because I know our time is coming up. If you want a more abundant mindset, when you take your walk, look around and start naming everything you can see that's abundant. The leaves on the trees themselves, the houses, the cars, just look for everything and start training your brain to take in abundance and say to yourself, there is an abundance of leaves. I see an abundance of cars. I see an abundance of rocks in that yard. I see an abundance of blades of grass. I see an abundance. And so we're telling our brain to look for abundance. And then we start saying, I believe in abundance and it surrounds me. So help me find it right now. Your brain wants to do what you tell it to do. The problem is we want to do what our brain tells us instead of us telling our brain what to do, right? We're in
Yes.
control. Our brain is not.
That's the setting of the mind. Yes. Listen, you don't get a better flip the script because she flipped the script permanently. That practice, if we do that, I can tell you it will change things. That is neuroplasticity. You're starting to recreate the synapses in your brain and wire
Yes.
it towards abundance.
Yes. And here's the book if you want the
Here's
model.
the book. It's all in there. Yes. And we will talk a little bit about that in a second, and we will have all the links in the description. I haven't finished reading it yet, as I usually read every book that my guest has. And so there's some pieces she's going to come back and talk about later. But I have to ask Dianna, with everything you've done, the roller coaster of life and quote unquote success, how do you define success for yourself now?
I think it's that we actually are living the life that we desire. See, a lot of people, if they say, let's take real estate. My goal is to sell 10 homes, and they sell 10 homes. I like to say help 10 families. Everybody talks differently. If they help the
Right.
10 families, then they're a success. Whereas other people say, I'll only be a success if I sell, 2,000 houses. and help 2,000 people. Well, that's success to them. So I think the first thing is let's define success. Success to me is living a life of adding value to other people, being able to provide for myself while I do that, and be
Yes.
able to help other people. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of kids out there that when we sponsor a child to help feed them, that to me, it serves me. When I help give money to John Maxwell's foundation to bring value-based education to children, because that's the legacy they're going to be taking
Yes.
over, right? When we look at what is it that we want our life to be known for, in fact, there you go. Who do you desire to be and what do you want to be known for? If people would
Yes.
do that and start living that, then to me, they've got the most successful life of anybody out there.
Because you just have to get up and be that and walk that way. That's what the book is about. That's what the book is about. Tell you how to be. Yep. And so, Dianna, we close out with Mindset Bites to go. It's where I step away from the microphone and the camera for 90 seconds. And it's just you giving our listeners and viewers one truth, one mindset shift that they would need to walk away with today, something that they can apply immediately. If you haven't given us a million of it, but here you go.
It's so funny. Okay. So the next thing, here we go. I'm just going to say personal growth is what life is about. If you're not growing, you're going backwards. And with everything, growth is not automatic. It's something that we must do intentionally. To be what we are and to become what we are capable of becoming is the only end of life, is what Robert Louis Stevenson said. And I truly believe that who you are being affects everything that you do, everything that you have, and everything that you can give. So to me, decide who it is you desire to be and what you want to be known for, and then start doing that every morning, because your morning, the moment your eyes open up, you start a new story, a new chapter to this book called your life. And when you think about your life right now, and if it was a book, how would it read? Would it be an adventure? Would it be a business book, a leadership book, a romance novel? I don't know. You get to make up the story of your life. You desire what it's going to be. And I think it's important for us to decide now, because see, if you continue to become more, then you're going to be helping other people. And I think there are people out there just awaiting for your greatness to come out. And I love to stand for people's greatness more than they will ever stand for their limitations. So as you become more, we all benefit.
I love it. As you become more, we all benefit. Dianna, what an amazing conversation. Everybody wants to know what's your favorite way to connect with you and get a copy of your book and just keep building on the words and the life transformational tools you've given us today.
Well, every Thursday evening, I do a portion of the book on a free book club that they can join on DiannaK.com, DiannaK.com, Instagram at Dianna.Kokoszka, Facebook at Dianna Kokoszka, LinkedIn, obviously Dianna Kokoszka, or DK Businesses, and TikTok at Dianna. And YouTube at Becoming More Dianna K. So lots of ways to contact me, and best way, just go to DiannaK.com. And I look forward to being able to help any way that I'm able. We have free resources there if you desire to have them.
One thing I had to ask, the 14 mindset assessments, are those yours? It's how we will put that directly in the description so you all can take that assessment, and all the links will be there. Just connect with Dianna. Let her know that you heard her here on Mindset Mastery Moments. Go to DiannaK.com and get a copy of her book, Becoming More. Keep mastering your mindset. Think, speak, do, become. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.